Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Okay, so hey, there are times when we all could use a little extra help and support in our lives. Whether there's something you're struggling with or just seeking connection with other people who understand what it's like to be in your situation, Inovia Behavioral Health can help. Inovia is a subscription-based organization that provides unlimited access to a wide variety of educational, experiential, and therapeutic support groups that are led by live expert facilitators. Now, you can get 20% off your membership with the discount code Cookbook20 when you subscribe. Check it out today at inoviabh.com. Inovia, feel better. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I'm super excited about our guest today, Juliet Clark. We just had a real interesting conversation prior to this, which I'm not going to discuss, but I'm going to read her bio and bring her on, and hopefully I can say her business name. It's like a tongue twister for whatever reason today. So we're going to try this again. Okay, so Juliet Clark is a 7-time best-selling author, speaker, and podcaster who has spent the last 20 years helping authors, coaches, speakers, and small business owners all over the world build expert audiences. Her company, Super Brand Publishing, is a hybrid publishing company that works with expert authors to build multi-platform release strategies and bestseller marketing campaigns that connect the book to the author's business. And it's really cool. So can't wait for you to hear about it. She started out as a best-selling mystery novelist. Okay, how did I not know that? Okay, we'll talk about that too. And is best known for her books Gypsy, Granny Heist. Okay, that we definitely have to talk about. And Dead by Dawn. Her 2019 book, Pitch Slapped, is a roadmap to building personal relationships over impersonal digital clicks to build revenue. At age 46, she received a black belt in Taekwondo, and is an avid hiker and golfer. All right, so without further ado, let's meet Juliet. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. I couldn't get super brand. It's not hard to say, but for whatever reason, it tripped me up the first time. Okay, so Granny Heist, and like I had no idea. I mean, I know we've spoken a bunch, but it's mainly been around you building the quiz for my challenge because, you know, full disclosure, I'm a client of Juliet. So, and she put this kick-ass quiz together for a challenge that we're having next month. So we haven't really like talked about you. So I had like no idea. So I can't wait to dive into some of this stuff.
Yeah. So I started out a mystery novelist, made quite a bit of revenue from some relatively crappy novels. But here's the thing. The first novel I wrote when I was going through my divorce, and it was really ugly. And I just felt
like killed your husband or what?
I killed him in the book. And that was actually the beginning of my career. Was I was feeling this frustration. I'm blonde. I would not look good in felony orange. Maybe I look good in royal blue. So maybe if felons wore orange blue, I just would have killed, or royal blue, I would have killed him. But instead, I killed him in the book. And that's actually the start of the entrepreneurial journey, because I self-published my first book and I was really unhappy with the business model. So I built my own company from there.
That's amazing. And if you've seen Orange is the New Black, blondes look good in orange. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But anyway.
It's just not my gig.
No, I hear you. I'm glad that you did it in the book and not in real life, because we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly. Or we'd be having it with bars in the way.
Well, there you go. I haven't done that yet. You know, who the hell knows with this show, because everything is like so open now. But we'll see. If there are any entrepreneurs in jail, we'll have to find out. So, I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there's tons of them in jail.
We already know a bunch. But anyway, so okay, so tell us about you and Super Brand Publishing and all the things.
Superbrand Publishing, I just told you sort of how it started.
Yes.
I published with a well-known self-publishing company, and it was a really awful experience. It was just a hand me your manuscript. When they designed the cover, I had to choose like 3 images, and they put them on there, and they just literally slapped them on. And I thought, this is really awful. Like, there's no customer service. And I had a publishing background. I worked at Price Stern and Sloan many years before. So I had been a part of traditional publishing. And so with my second book, I learned how to publish from scratch. My first book didn't sell many copies, but I was also learning to build my platform along the way. And so my second book sold more than my first. And then my third book really took off. I sold over 25,000 copies of Granny Heist. So that was sort of the genesis of it. It was all fueled by anger.
Wow. Okay. So what's Granny Heist about? The name is just like, it's killer.
So I have a really odd family on my mother's side. I mean, everybody has those dysfunctional families, but I literally had a grandmother who got in an accident when she was 12 years old. She lost part of her ear. She was in a coma for 12 days. And I know this because something happened in her brain, and she didn't have really like short-term memory. I don't know if it's short-term or long-term, but we would hear about it constantly. So she'd tell us, like, I'm lucky to be here. Everybody thought I'd wake up from the coma. They didn't think I'd wake up. And then I woke up and they were surprised I wasn't crazy. And as you heard the story, you would literally look at her and go,
"You're
but
crazy.
You are crazy."
Right.
So my mother had a really interesting childhood because of this. And so it's a little bit autobiography of my mother, but there's a lot of fiction in there too. So and that's the way most fiction is when you're a fiction author. You go out and you look at the mannerisms people have, so you can write about it in the book. And so it's sort of a semi-real story about a grandma who stole a child and robbed banks and then turned into a nice grandma. But when she passed away, her heirs were cleaning out her house, and they found some of the old money from bank robberies. They found some of the jewelry that she had kept. So it kind of weaves the story backwards with our detective going back, because it's her grandmother, and figuring out, why is all this here? What happened to grandma? And so it's just an interesting story. It did very well.
That's I may actually have to read that. I can't believe I'm saying that. But anyway, so but and it's funny because I remember back in the day there'd be all these books, right? Like all these romance novels and all this other stuff, and people bought it. And now, I mean, I don't know what people are reading now. I know what appeals to me. Stuff that appealed to me back then does not appeal to me now at all. And I think that, is it me, or has the publishing world changed? Has the book selection changed, or are they still out there and I just don't see them because I don't look for them?
The book world has changed a lot. One of the things that allowed me to open my own company was back 2007, 2008, 2009, when I was publishing. Amazon had just opened it up so that you could self-publish. And the traditional publishers were not happy about it. They did everything they could to badmouth these new people coming out that had been rejected for traditional contracts. And now here they were published authors. But here was the really great part of it is the traditional publishers they're looking for that mass market mainstream book that's going to sell a lot. With what Amazon did opening up KDP is they created a lot of different genres that the traditional companies never would have taken. So it really did open up the books that were out there. And then as it started picking up, you know, a lot of people went to audiobooks then too. So, and that for me, that's where I listen to most of my books now, because I, you know, obviously I read all day. I don't want to read for relaxation, but yeah, it has changed a lot. The other thing that's changed is it used to be that a traditional publisher would take you and then they would promote you. They do little to no promotion these days.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to learn how to build your own platform. And that's why, in addition to our publishing company, we have what we call Author Traffic School. You can find it at authortrafficschool.com. And we actually work with authors to build that audience, not only for their book, but for their business as well.
Wow. Interesting. I remember it was like a few weeks ago or something, there was an ad for a book on TV. And I was like, I haven't seen, I looked at my wife, I was like, I haven't seen one of those in like years. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen anything about, you know, hey, blah, blah, blah book. And I just kind of, and I can't remember what it was, which that's how effective the ad was. But I just remember seeing it and going, wow, I can't remember the last time I saw, you know, one of those. And I had a client for a little while. She was trying to self-publish so she wrote fanfic for Supergirl, and I will come out and say I'm a huge Supergirl fan. They killed the show, whatever. That's another story. They destroyed the characters and whatever, but it was good for a while. So she wrote fanfic, and then she was writing this book from the fanfic. So she changed the characters so she wouldn't get in trouble and, you know, all that stuff. And it was an amazing book. And, you know, I knew nothing about publishing, but we did know about Amazon publishing. So she ended up going through a personal crisis, so we never published. And then I was working with another author years earlier, and it was actually the woman who played Supergirl, Melissa Benoist, was her sister, Jessica Benoist. Didn't end well, and we'll talk about that off screen. But well, when you help somebody and then, you know, you get screwed in the end, it doesn't taste well. So anyway, but it was really interesting because I learned a lot from those conversations and about different ways to promote a book. Like, you could do a contest, right? You can, like, to get people interested. So there was a lot of things that I learned that I never knew. So I was ready to do this for CJ, but unfortunately she had some things come up, and we may, I don't know, we're talking again, so we'll see what happens. But it's a whole different world, and it's a whole different promotion. And I mean, I'm a marketing agency, you know, I'm not a book publishing, you know, company. So I would probably come to you at that point and be like, okay, I'm going to introduce you to somebody because, you know, so we know how you got into this. And I'm trying to think, because did you, before you killed your husband in your book, did you work for corporate? I'm not even going to say before you became an entrepreneur, because I think that's like the best thing ever. It's like, ladies, if you ever want to get revenge, you don't have to do it in real life. Write a book.
Yeah, it is very cathartic. I did work in corporate. So I worked, like I said, publishing, which is a corporate entity. Mm-hmm. And the next job after that, I worked for Shy Day Advertising. So that, you know, that is corporate. It's very political. You work with clients. And from there, I went to Mattel Toys, and I don't miss corporate at all.
Wow. So what did you do at Mattel Toys?
At Mattel Toys, I worked in the accounting department, and it was interesting. It was very different from anything I had done before. But here's the deal. As when I became an entrepreneur, I had this really rounded background that, you kind of bounce along. When you're younger, you kind of bounce along and you kind of have a goal. But when you look at it, you're like, why did I go from here to here? And why did I go over to here? And then when you become an entrepreneur, you kind of look back on it and you go, oh, I was being prepared for this all along with this zigzag that I just did. And and I wasn't at Mattel for very long. I didn't like it. It was very corporate. I'm someone who goes in and I'm very focused. I do my job and I leave. And, they wanted these longer hours, and I was watching the people around me come in and, go get coffee and go chat for an hour. And I was very, head down, in when I was supposed to be, out when I was supposed to be. And so I'm not really good at corporate games.
Yeah. Well, and I say this probably on every show, is that we're unemployable. Entrepreneurs are employable, right? I mean, and what you said, you look back on every job that you have, every single job that I've had, from working, at a deli to doing catering to, operations to, whatever I did, all really prepared me for, what I'm doing now. And I'm not sure what the hell prepared me for the podcast, but, something did, because here I am. But as far as like my business, I look back at every single job and it was like, man, this was preparing me, for this. And one of the other things is I started mindfulness. I think we talked about this. I started mindfulness 3 years ago. And I used to be a hothead. I used to be really negative, and I used to be a hothead. And when I stopped and I took a look inward, it was like, that's not good. You know. And I'm not a hothead anymore. I'm probably the most positive person in the world, which I remember I saw somebody who I hadn't seen in years, and they were just like, it is so amazing to see you so happy. And the weird thing about it was I didn't realize how negative I was, because I was miserable. And I didn't realize how that came across. And that also prepared me for what I do. Because, when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with all kinds of people. Right? You're dealing with happy people. You're dealing with cranky people. In marketing, when somebody's marketing isn't working, you're dealing with really frustrated people. So you have to learn how to navigate that. And so, I think that's true for everybody. What our past experiences, kind of, carved the way to get us here.
Absolutely.
So there are people out here that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or, because they're either thinking about it, they're in a job they're not happy with, they want to leave, or they just, have the entrepreneurial spirit and they want to start. What advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
I think if you're in a corporate job, start the learning curve for marketing and getting everything set up way before you leave your job. Because when you get into the marketing aspect of it, there's a lot of messaging. It can get expensive. You're learning how to build an online presence. So I would say, start while you have your day job, building all of this up so that you can replace that income. And that's actually what I did before I owned the publishing company. I sold real estate. I had a broker's license. And so I would literally go into my job at 2 a.m., get off by 10, go home, take a nap, and go out and sell real estate. And I did that until I had a family. I wanted to replace that income. So don't quit your day job and just think you're going to make six figures in 6 years. It's a build. It's slow. And, depending, if you look right now, the economy is not great for starting a new business. So, go tiptoe into it.
Interesting. Okay. See, and I think that, first off, save money so that you can hire a marketing agency like Esto Creative. But seriously, You know, when you are, if you're thinking about it, you know, if it's necessity, if you get fired and you don't want to collect unemployment, you want to do something, that's different. You know, that's what happened to me. But if you are in a job and you can stand it, you know, save your money, get a plan, you know, look and make sure that what you want to do is viable, that there's going to be a viable market for it, right? Somebody to buy your, whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that the economy right now, I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making it out to be. I really don't. I think it's more of a scare tactic because, you know, I look around here, I'm in Lafayette, Indiana, and people are out spending tons of money. So, you know, and I, you know, see people investing in their businesses. I see some people freaking out, you know, and they're like, I can't spend money and I can't put money into my business. And honestly, this is the time that you should invest in your business because I always say, if you're not online, you're not an option, right? And everybody's like, oh my God, that's like the greatest line ever. But the thought behind it is that if your competition is online and you're not an option, right? You're not going to be top of mind. They're going to be top of mind. So it's with anything. If you know, you want to be where your competitor is, and that's it. And whether it's being online, whether it's just doing advertising, you know, doing like an ad or a billboard or something. You see your competitor on a billboard and people are saying it, you know, you should probably get a billboard because, you know, they're doing it. I mean, that's, I look at stuff because it's so competitive out there and people are like, you know, they're freaking out because this guy's getting business and they're not. There's a reason, right? It's how they're positioning themselves. It's how they're getting the word out about what they're doing. So I don't know. That's kind of.
It's true. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's true. When I was in real estate, I had a billboard. And it was actually hilarious because we would be out at restaurants and like little kids would come up and go, "Hi, Juliet." It'd be like, "How did you know my name?" And then the parents would come along, "Oh, I see you every day over on New Hall Ranch Road."
And you're like, "Cool, buy a house for me." Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Buy a house. Here's my business card.
I mean, at least you knew it's working. They saw it, you know, they know who you are. So it's working. I've had clients place, you know, buy billboards. This is like so funny. This is like a few years ago. I had a client who bought a billboard and there was, you know, there's only so much real estate there, you know, available. So, you know, it's not like, well, I want to get a billboard and this is where I want to be. It's like, well, it's nice you want to be there. This person has like a 5-year contract. You're never going to be there, but we can put you here. So my client was like, well, I want a billboard, so let's do it. And I said, you're not going to get any return from that. Nobody's going to see you. I want a billboard. Yeah.
Okay. It always cracks me up when I see real estate agents who buy a park bench, and it's like that there are people sitting on, they're putting their butts on your message.
Right. Like they're blocking you. They can't see you. You know what I think is great? Shopping carts. Everybody like laughs at me, but it's like right there. It's like right in the front, you know. So I think those are kind of cool. My clients are probably listening to me now going, you never said anything about shopping carts, but you know.
Exactly.
But okay, yeah. But you have to really be, you know, cognizant of where you're doing your promotion and all that stuff. So speaking of promotion, so you help promote now. Do you help promote clients' books, or do you help them promote it themselves? Like what do you do? Like how do you do what you do?
So what we recommend is that you have at least a year of platform building. So we have something called Author Traffic School. And in Author Traffic School, we build the tools you need to build an email list, which you're going to use for your book launch. a social media presence, but also how can we connect that content that you're putting out? And most of my people, when they come to me, they're not putting out content. So how can we produce that content that keeps people interested and moving towards the book? So that's really where we start. Now, we do get a lot of people who haven't built a platform. We can run a bestseller campaign, but we really stress that you need to be on podcasts. You need to be out on media. We have a media booker. She's a little pricey, but she works with a major network. So if she gets you on, you're going to be, very widely received. And so we do have tools for launching the book. But what typically happens if you don't build a platform is that you'll have a really terrific launch because there's a big push with partners, and then you barely sell any books. It's really that place where you have to keep it going after the fact, and that means you have to keep getting yourself out there. But also getting yourself out there with hopefully the tools that we built before the launch that keep you going. So like a quiz like you did. So that when you're out speaking, you have something to give people and say, here, go here, get on my list, get into my, whatever it is you're getting into. So we do develop a lot of ebooks, a lot of video series, quizzes. We have ways that we teach people how to build that audience along the way.
Interesting. Yeah, because I didn't know if it worked like, because I'll do like 3 to 5 LinkedIn posts a week for my business, right? Because you want to build credibility. You want people to get to know, like, and trust you. Video is amazing. People see my video. It was so funny because when I first started doing video, I would get these LinkedIn messages. Hey, I want to work with you. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And then I would talk to them and I was like, oh shit, I don't want to work with these people. But, you can't say that. So I started, well, because in the beginning, I didn't know. I just thought they were really liked what I did and they wanted to work with me. And, I was, it was COVID and I was like, yes, let's, work together. And some of the conversations were great and I got really good clients. Some of them were really creepy and I had to stop and block. And it was, a little interesting. But video to me is one of the best ways for somebody to really get a feel for who you are, because you're being you. Okay, if you're authentic. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that maybe aren't authentic, but I think I can tell if they are or not. And that's me. I make my living on reading people and reading, body language and all that stuff. But for me, this is it. I mean, the way we're talking, these are my videos. This is just very, me. So are those the kind of videos that they put out, or do they read excerpts of the book to, garner interest in the book, or how does that work?
So yeah, we don't really make it a lot about the book. You can take excerpts from the book, but that's not what the videos are all about. And by the way, this is new media right here, what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Nobody really buys into the very scripted. Remember when I don't know if you remember back when people would go and they would hire a videographer and makeup artists and they do these very scripted videos. People don't want those anymore. There are too many people just opening it up and being really authentic and showing up this way. And that was hard for me to get used to. I really do have to say, I had to force myself. I used to come in from running and I would go do a Facebook Live, sweaty and my hair messed up and just dropping cuss bombs, whatever. That's me. And it was amazing to watch that transition of people actually following me more, because now I was a real human being.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I think that's where we go with this. So depending on who my clients are, we might do a mindfulness series. We had one author who did a 7-video mindfulness theory and series, and each of the videos were 2 minutes apiece. So, you could consume them at a pace that was, whatever you were doing. We have others who will do a book trailer. So it just depends. One of the things that I notice is my people who don't create content on a regular basis, it's because they're not used to it. And you have to get through that cringe factor. And like, I have a podcast, Promote, Profit, Publish. If I go back and look at my first episodes, they were horrendous. But you get better over time. So you just have to get over it. Know that, you know, you're going to be bad for a while. It's like when I started playing golf, I'm still bad, but I was much worse than I am today.
You don't feel bad. So I say I suck less each week. So, you know.
Yeah, I suck less each week. There you go. And that's the way it is with producing content, especially with video. You can't micromanage yourself. You just show up. And if I can give you an example of something that happened, there used to be this product on Twitter called Periscope. And Periscope.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you would open up live, and everybody who was connected to you, they would get a message that you were live. So it was probably one of the first ones out there. And I remember getting on live and my voice is shaking, and I was horrible. And I was just really, I'm type A personality. So I was just down on myself for a day or two about, oh my God, you can't get on there again. You just sucked. Well, then I got a notification that some other people that I knew in real estate, they got on. And literally, one of the guys talks with his hands. He knocked the camera over because it was back when the camera was on a tripod. Remember, on your iPhone, on a tripod. He knocks it off, and you can hear the other two people. They're looking for the phone. They're dropping F-bombs. Nobody can find the phone. It went under a cabinet. And I sat there, and I was like, damn, girl, you're a rock star. Get back on there this afternoon.
That is awesome. When we first started doing it, Nina Farif was doing these like challenges, and she still is, but she's doing, it's more advanced now, excuse me. But, I was a beginner, and I remember, Kofi told me like that January, it was like so weird. That January, he's like, you need to be doing video. And I was like, I never need, because I always thought video was, and, my audiences heard this like 5,000 times, but I always thought, video was for the pretty people, for the, the really pleasingly aesthetic, I don't know, like the little model looking people. So I never thought that it was anything for me. And honestly, I didn't know what I had to say. So he said, you know your shit, you should be out here, you should be, on video talking about it. And I was like, I don't know. So then the pandemic hits, and I meet Nina, and we start talking, and she's like, well, we're doing this May video challenge. It was like 4 years ago now. And I said, okay, what the heck? And I remember the first video I did, Kofi actually convinced me to do, I think like 3 or 4 videos. And we were in this place called Matchbox. It's a co-working studio, and I had like a 60-inch screen here. So I looked up like I was, thinking, and meanwhile I'm reading, so that I can get the ideas of what I was talking about. And then I would look in, the camera and talk. And I had Nina look at those, and she said, they're not bad, but you could do better. So she taught me, look at the dot on the phone. If you're going to do it, you want to be talking to the person, and, the whole thing. So long story short, my first couple of videos, not great. They're like, but you're amazing on video. I'm like, I suck on video. Well, by the end of the first challenge, it was June, because it was from May to June. Now the pandemic, we're in like 4 months deep, and nobody got their hair done. Nobody got anything done. Everybody looked like crap. So I didn't feel it. And then I learned that it wasn't about how you look. It was about the message. And it changed everything. It changed everything. I wasn't worried about, I would wash my hair and showed up, but I had my Bonnie Raitt streak over here, and I had, my grays were not covered. You couldn't go to the salon, and I wasn't going to do that crap myself because I'd have it all over my face. I'm just not handy like that. So it was really interesting. But when I started doing it, it changed my business, because people started, seeing me, and I wasn't worried. I had a coach tell me not to be myself, and I listened, and then I didn't, and then I fired him. But when I was being myself, it's like long story. We'll talk about it. But when I was being me, that's when people wanted to work with me. Oh my God, you're so funny. Oh my God, you know your shit. Oh my God, you're so real. You are so real. And I was like, how else can you show up? You know, especially now. There's no keyboard warrior anymore. There's no hiding behind the keyboard, you know, because, you know, now you can be seen. So
Yes.
I think that way.
One of the things back in the early days that I think really intimidated people, and Nina's wonderful, by the way. Nina helped me with background. I had my production boards back here. But one of the things that I think really, I know it wasn't attractive, that
No,
really
looks good.
sort of hurt our industry was, I don't know how many of you guys remember the Jeff Walker launches where they had these big scripted, beautiful. So you would do a video and then you'd encourage people to go sign up for your webinar. And then there'd be a second video and you'd talk about the problem some more and there'd be another sign up. Yeah. And then there was that third one. And I actually worked for, I want to say 2015, 2016, I worked for one of our big entrepreneurs who did a book with us. He had me come in to work on funnels and they spent $100,000 on those 3 videos. And I think, but they were, you know, they had their makeup done. They were, I mean, it was unbelievable. So now when we switch to being ourselves, people find it a little bit intimidating because they think they're competing with these people who are doing that Jeff Walker style launch. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody does it. It's just you being you. And I actually remember the first landing page I did with a video trying to mimic that. I spent all morning and I couldn't get it right. I took a break. I went down to the pool, had a smoothie, went back up. I nailed it. And then on the replay, I noticed I had a big piece of spinach in my tooth. Oh my God. And that was really the point for me. I was like, I got to quit micromanaging that. And I just did it. And it was what it was. And it was imperfect. And I brought more people to that webinar than I ever had before. And I think it was because I was just perfectly imperfect.
Thank you. Perfectly imperfect. That's exactly it. Because, you know, I mean, this is who we are. You know, like I said, you know, I feel like my hair is a mess today. And you're like, oh, it looks awesome. But, you know, to me, you know, I know it could look better. Now, people are listening to this. They can't even see it. People who are watching it are probably like, you're insane. But whatever. Like I was told, you know, Grogu back there is a distraction. I had one guy that I was talking to, my little baby Yoda back there. Oh. He was like stuck on him. He's like, I'm very distracted. And I said, by what? He goes, you have baby Yoda back there. And I went, yeah. He goes, I can't focus. So I said, okay. So I grabbed baby Yoda. It was like hilarious. So I grabbed him and I put him over here. And he goes, so now baby Yoda's over there. I said, yeah. I said, you want to see him? It was just like really odd. I mean, it's like so many like odd things. But what I love is now we can just go right in the backyard. A thought hits us for whatever. It's like, oh man, I'm going to share this like right now, and we can share it, and it doesn't matter. I could show up. I could take my Din Djarin, you know, Mandalorian helmet and Grogu, and I could sit here and I could do like a fucking post right now, and people would be like, oh my God, you know. Some people would think it was insane, but the people who like Star Wars would be like, oh my God, like why, you know, didn't I do it? Do you know Annie Ruggles?
I don't, but remind me later when we talk. I have a great Star Wars story.
Okay. So so my wife goes and gets Bo-Katan, who's one of the Mandalorians from Rebels. Anyway, she was on the Mandalorian also, but she is a Mandalorian. So my wife, you know, and I are giant, you know, geeks. So she got the Bo-Katan helmet. And I was like, oh my God, it looks like the real thing. I have to get Din's helmet. So I ordered Din's helmet and I get the helmet and I'm freaking out because it is like an amazing replica. It's got lights inside. It's like this cool thing. So I FaceTime Annie and, you know, she's like, I'm in a live stream. And she knows if I FaceTime her, it's like something that it's really, you know, this is like urgent. Because the second thing that I did. Like I showed it to my wife. We took a picture and I was like, Annie's going to die. I am going to FaceTime her with the helmet on, holding Grogu, and her day is like, it's going to be her best day ever. So finally, 9:00 at night, we FaceTime, and she answers, and here's me with the helmet and Grogu, and she's like, "What is that? What?" Like she lost her shit. And I was just like, that was a reaction that I wanted. And then Heather came in with the Bo-Katan helmet, and then she was just like completely, done. But it was hilarious. And I have no idea why we sidetracked on that. Oh, just because you can just show up however, right? So there's an audience for that. Like if I did that, and I may do that. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. But
yeah, there definitely is. But here's the thing. You always have to remember, you are going to be your own worst critic. You're gonna go right for, oh, I have a zit right here. I don't really have a zit, but I can see that zit and it looks like Mount Vesuvius. Nobody else sees it. And like I do that with this right here. That's my Grand Canyon. And everybody's like, oh, I don't even notice that. That's what happens when you get old, guys. You get a Grand Canyon.
No, it's because we're thinkers, right? So because we're sitting and we're thinking.
Always like this. Somebody told me, some face person told me that means I'm intelligent and approachable. And I was like, yeah, you don't know me. No.
Well, you're very.
I hate people. I'm not approachable.
Oh, you hate people. Well, okay, maybe you do. I don't know that, but. So there are seasoned entrepreneurs that are listening out here, right? And what is an obstacle that you've had to overcome that maybe somebody's going through now, and your experience can help them? I know I switched gears on you. I went back to the interview. You're kind of like,
you did. I know.
Yeah, but you can do this because you're a type A. So
you're right. I can just switch on a dime. Probably one of my biggest obstacles has been as we grew. So we went along and we were growing at a slower pace because I bootstrapped my business. And then 2020 hit and we exploded. Like people wanted online presence. They had been writing books. So probably one of my biggest things was that was really a wake-up call that I needed to spend less time on the business and more time out golfing and family and nature. So it was getting systems and processes in order that allowed us to grow and automating a lot of stuff that I just didn't do before. So I think that was one of my biggest obstacles was, how am I going to organize this? How do I get it set up? How do I get the systems working together? And I ended up being pretty successful at it once I got through the process, because now I work Monday through Thursday. I golf on Fridays, unless it's winter. And that from this week, I golfed Monday afternoon. I golfed Wednesday afternoon. So it was really taking myself out of the business to the point where I was really, I was still making money. I was growing the company, but then I was enjoying life more.
Cool. Because a lot of people work themselves into the ground. I went to a Dames event up in Chicago. Megan was doing like her Midwest tour. And so, I'm 2 hours from, actually it was in like Plainview and, or Plainfield. And, so I was like, I'll come up, I'm going to meet you because I want to hug you in person and, all the things. And Annie was going to be there, and it was this great thing. And, I met Francesca and, Sam, Erlenbad, just so many awesome, people. And, oh man, I just like totally lost my train of thought. So the women were there, and there were these two women that were talking about, I'm doing my own business and I'm working like into the middle of the night and I love it. And Megan and I are looking at each other like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not, no, you, and I said something, I said, you don't want to be working until the middle of the night. The whole idea is so that you can do your thing and then have fun. I mean, in the beginning, yes, you work a lot. And the old adage was, I'd rather work 100 hours for myself than 40 hours for somebody else. But in all honesty, I don't want to work 100 hours a week. I'm like you. I want to work I'm not at the point where I can work 4 days. I mean, that's not true. I can kind of do that. I played golf all day Monday. You knew that. So that was interesting. But you don't become an entrepreneur so that you can work yourself into the ground. You become an entrepreneur so that you can build a business and enjoy life. I mean, if it's a lifestyle business, if it's a legacy business, I still think you should allow yourself some grace and some time. So I agree with that.
I do too. And when I started this business, so I had a real estate business before, and you really can't do that from anywhere. So when I built Superbrand, my goal from day one was to be able to work from anywhere in the world. And, I've achieved that. I can go visit my daughter, just take my computer with me and work here and there along the way. And I think that really is, or should be, the goal for most entrepreneurs, is to be able to build a sort of a lifestyle brand where, you're able to work from anywhere.
Yeah. And I think COVID made that possible, because I don't think we really thought about that, right? Prior. Like if you would have told me in 2019 that I would have national clients, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. But I have like national clients now. It's like I have clients in Denver, I have clients in New Jersey, I have clients, like in like 5 different states. And it's so weird to me that when I try to do local business, it's like, oh shit, that's right, I live here. I can do business here now because, we're not under this like giant, pandemic thing anymore. So, and I have local clients too, it's so funny, because like we'll have a meeting. And I met with one of my clients, he's a lawyer, and we were doing a video shoot for him last week. And he doesn't want to be that stuffy guy, that, this like executive lawyer. He just wants to be a lawyer to, he hangs out in bars. He wants you to know that, that's who he is. He can, meet you anywhere. And it was just so funny because, I was talking to him, and it was like, it's just so weird because I had 3 years, almost 3.5, because I have a condition and I was still afraid to go out for a while. I said, but, to be able to meet and have a drink and talk and to be able to do this photo shoot or a video shoot or whatever we do locally, it's so cool. So I have local business and I have national business. And it's like, I never would have dreamed in a million years. Never would have dreamed.
That was actually the beginning of my business. I was part of a networking group in Valencia, California. And it was really interesting. I became president of this group, and I wanted to have different activities than we'd had before. So I did a mastermind with it. And I was actually sitting in the mastermind, and I said, I want a global business. What do you guys know? And they all looked at me like I had 3 heads.
Was it BNI?
No, it wasn't BNI. It was a local one that was there. And I think it was at that moment I realized this group is not going to grow with me. And I quit the group. I not only quit as president, I quit the group. And I went home that day and I called my friend who was a real estate coach. I'd known him from my real estate days, and now he was an entrepreneur. He had built a lifestyle business. And I said, coach me. And within 6 weeks, I had clients in New Zealand and Great Britain. So, if you think it and you want it, put it out there and figure out how you're going to get it. And it will happen. I was amazed it happened that quickly. So
wow. That's awesome. And it's what we manifest, right? I think it's like what we put out to the universe. So
I'm a great little manifester.
Oh my God. I didn't realize how good I was. So a couple of weird things happened. So do you know Jennifer Fry?
I think I've met her, yeah.
Okay. So she had a picture of, this was like so weird. She had a picture of this cake. in like November, and she was in Charleston, and it was from a place called the Honey Hive, and I forgot what the cake was called, but anyway, she had this cake, and I was like, oh, I have to eat that. It was just like chocolate, just like chocolate happiness, and I was like, I have to eat that. Like, I will be eating that one day. Fast forward to March or the end of February, and I'm going down to Charleston to meet with Kim, because, you know, Kim does a lot of my design. Actually, she does all my design now. And I was doing a photo shoot for my website. And it's like the last night that we're there, and we go to the Chop House for dinner, and then Kim's like, hey, let's go to Honey Hive, you know, for dessert. And I'm like, oh my God, I ordered the cake. So I'm eating the cake, you know, Heather gets the cake and whatever. And we're on the plane the next day, and I looked at her and I went, holy shitballs, like it just hit me. And she goes, what? I'm like, I manifested the cake. And she said, what? I said, remember November? I said, I will be eating this cake. And you were like, yeah, right. I said, what did we eat last night? And she was like, oh my God, you're right. And then I started looking. It was weird because it was like the beginning of this like crazy trajectory of things that I've been manifesting that have been happening. And that was like the first thing that made me realize that I did it. And now when I manifest something, it happens. It's weird, but it happens. And I realize that it's a gift, and it's, you know, all universe and everything's connected, but holy crap. But the cake was the first thing.
Yeah, I have. Oh, sorry. I have a practice that I've had for years, and I've been talking to my editor about putting a book out to help people do it. I have this thing called the 10-10, and I truly feel that when you realize that you're a manifester, it's because you have created a grateful attitude. And so what the 10-10 is every morning you get up and you write 10 things that you're grateful for, and then 10 things that you want to manifest. And when I started doing that, I had little things on my list, and they started happening almost immediately. Like I was manifesting those, and then it kind of rolled into the bigger things. And so I'm pretty sure that Chris and I are going to create a 10-10 book for authors, because there's so much to learn along the way, and you have to take baby steps. And I think that gratefulness is really the key. Once you develop an ironclad grateful attitude for the good things and the bad things, because the bad things are always experiences. They're always something you're being taught. They're always so I think once you get that really grateful attitude, that manifestation just rolls in. And what is unique about that is that it took me so long to learn that now I teach it to my children. And my children are grown. They're, early 20s, one's early 20s, one's later 20s. But when something bad happens, I'll stop and go, what was the lesson in that?
Yep.
And so now my daughter, I complained about something the other day, and my daughter stopped me and she's like, Mom, what was the lesson in that? And she was being a smart ass, but
right, but she was right.
She was right.
It's funny because my wife and I, and we were doing this and we stopped, and we really need to get back to do it again. But I had this thing where it was like, I wake up, I have this power mixer thing that, my coach, helped me develop, and I try to read that every morning. But when we go to bed, it's like, what are 3 things that happened today that you're grateful for? Just 3. And, like she would struggle. She'd be like, well, I'm grateful for you and the puppies. It's like, no. What happened today that you're grateful for? And I found that when we were doing that, it was the best way to go to sleep, because you go to sleep with a grateful heart, right? And, you wake up, but you also manifest stuff that way as well. And I didn't I wasn't doing it to manifest. I was just doing it to really get into a grateful mindset. And so I'm going to, she's going to, tonight, I'm going to be like, we haven't done in a while, because it's true. When you write it down, I do a every moon, new moon, full moon. The full moon, I write down things that I want to let go of that no longer serve me. And I light a little fire and I, say my little thing and I light sage and I burn it and I'm done. And on the new moon, I write the things that I want to bring in. And I also write the things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. Now I want to bring in this, this, and this. And that's been kind of life-changing. I don't think people don't realize the power within.
That's true. And when I first started doing the 10-10, I was just like your wife. I was like, I struggled to find some, and legitimately, I was at a down point in my life. I was negative, but once you start to get that, it really rolls. And there was, I think the best example I saw of that, and really, really learned to come from a place of service with a business too, is, there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that it's all about their bottom line. And I'm not saying that I don't like money, I have a really healthy bottom line. But one of the best things I ever saw was a new approach to real estate. One of my friends went out, she was brand new to the business, and she said, she ran ads, and she said, this year, I'm here to serve 100 clients in Santa Clarita to help save their home. And it was during the downturn, a lot of short sales, a lot of foreclosures. And that was what she did. And she is one of the top agents in that town now because she was there to serve. She went and she learned it. And people called her and they said, hey, we're about to lose our home. Are you, how can you help us? But I think that was another thing that as an entrepreneur, I learned really well was always be there to serve. Always go above and beyond what people expect from you. And don't just be a vendor, be a partner in it. Like be really invested in what they're doing and care. And there's so many people out there who aren't grateful, entrepreneurs, and they don't really care. They're all about the money. Once you get in that service mode, you will just watch this shift happen in your business. It's unbelievable. People know it, they feel it, they see you're not giving them lip service.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the other part of being authentic, right? Because if you really care, and they know, and they also know if you don't. I mean, easily. Like my clients, one of the greatest compliments that I get consistently is that they know that I care. They know that I'm not doing, of course we all want to make money, right? But they know that I'm not out gouging anybody and that, this isn't self-serving. I am truly here to help them, be the best that they can be. And by doing that, I become the best that I can be. And it's just like this amazing, synergy that happens. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful that, I realized, I think 20 years ago, that my purpose on this earth is to be of service. And so when I started this business, I knew that, I want to make money, but I also want to help people, and I want to help people grow their business because people get stuck, and they get stuck working in their business instead of on their business. And I want to help them get to that point that they don't have to work in their business, right? They can work on their business. So let us help you with that, and that, when that happens, it's like just the best feeling ever, ever. So.
Yeah, it is. And one of the first things I do when I work with someone is I give them my text number. And when I give them an assignment, I tell them, if you get stuck or you don't know what to do or you need help, text me and I'll fit you in someplace. Because I think what really destroys a relationship is when you're not there for you, and then they sit there and they fester and they're frustrated, and that frustration festers more. So I think that's one of the things that being of service. Now, does it mean that they text me at weird times? Well, yeah, it does sometimes, but it's also hey, I'm out hiking. Can we connect in an hour? So
Right.
you've just alleviated that I'm going to have to wait till the next appointment. And I think that is probably the number one thing that people are always surprised is, what? You're giving me your cell number? Like, nobody else gives me their cell number to get help.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, I don't hand out cards that much anymore, but when I do, my number's on there. I want people to be able, to get hold of me. But I'm one of your clients, and I can. Yeah, the first thing you did was like take down my number. So
Yeah.
it's important. Communication is important. I think there's a lot of businesses out there that just want their clients to be like a number. It's not about the relationship for them. For them, it's just about, the money and how many clients can I get in a year. And that's never been it for me. It's always been about, how do we build this relationship? How do we build this, trust between us so that, this can be a successful partnership, because it is at the end of the day, a partnership. End of story. I mean, that's what it is. I had a client who, actually, she's a friend of mine. She listens to this all the time, so she's going to laugh. But, they ordered pens from us because we do promotional we do promotional items. And the pens came in and they were all messed up. They were the like Sharpie pens that, the gel pens. Half of them were open, half of them were closed. There was like ink all over the place. And I'm like, oh, hell no, that's not, whatever. So I had to reach out to my vendor and I was like, what is this? And well, sometimes they get open and I'm like, no. There is ink coming out of these things. This is not okay. So long story short, we got it replaced, but she also knew that she was going to be taken care of. Like, somebody else might've been like, well, if half of them are good, you just use like half of them. And I was like, no, I want to get you like a replacement of the entire shipment. I don't give a shit if half of them are good. That's not how I do business. So I made sure that, she got brand new pens and they worked. And I saw her the other day and her boss was there. I was like, oh, you idiot. At the golf outing that I was at. So I said, hey, giving out leaky pens today? And her boss was like right there. I was like, oh, you jackass. But, it happens. Not to be self-deprecating, but it was like, she just laughed. She goes, you're fine, whatever. But she listens to this all the time. And actually, she used to do a drinking game. Every time I would say, fuck, I had to get one in so you could have one drink. But every time I would say it, she would like, take a drink. And I don't like censor. Honestly, if somebody, I know when Annie and I do our podcast, which is going to be, we're going to be interviewing soon. It's just going to be F-bombs left and right. And I know that. So I'm going to tell her, I'll be like, Michelle, do not listen to this at work because, this is an NSFW, episode. And I will put a disclaimer on there. So what is your differentiator? Like, why would somebody want to work with you as opposed to a different company that does what you do?
The customer service, time and attention spent with you. Most publishing companies, you hand off your work, they give you back work. We develop assets. We do all sorts of stuff with people. And as you just saw, we have really great customer service, which is very unusual. I pick up the phone, I return calls, and especially in this world of AI, like nothing bothers me more than calling someone like UPS and screaming at their AI, give me a real person.
Give me a person, agent. We want to give you an agent, but tell us what your problem is. No, just give me a fucking agent.
Exactly. And then it hangs up on you. The other day I had a problem with UPS. Yep. It hung up on me 4 times. And I'm just, my poor people on this side, they share a wall with me. And I'm sure they were like, why is she screaming? Fucking give me a real person on the phone at 5 a.m.
I know. I do the same thing. And it's like the same thing with like any of them, FedEx, USP, like all of them. You can't get a person. That's why
and the printer company that we use, that they have a business monopoly. It's the same thing. You email them, you can't call them, and it's just customer service is dead. And I think people really miss it. And AI, I'm sorry, AI is no substitute for really great customer service. It just isn't. Maybe it'll get there one day, but it's not now.
No, not for customer service, because they're machines. I mean, they can't, I will, I'm going to get crucified for this, but I'm going to give a little shout out to ChatGPT, because that's one AI that's, I'm kind of digging it, but that's another story. I know you can't write a book with one. We already discussed that.
Yes.
But you can write an email sequence and, put your flavor on it. So, all right, cool. Well, see, we're over an hour. I know it goes so fast. So, the last question that I ask everybody, and first up, before I say that, thank you so much for taking the time today, because it was like so much fun. And I want to talk to you more, because there's so much about you that I don't know that I want to learn. So we're going to have like a wine and Zoom or something. But really, thank you for taking the time and really sharing, all of your stories and all of your experience and your heart with us. I really appreciate it. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this was great. But the last question that I ask all my guests is, what lights your fire?
Oh gosh, so many things. I'm easy. My children, they're grown-ups now, they're adults, but I love watching them grow as people. Golf, we have a love-hate relationship with golf. Depending on the day, I love it or I hate it.
People do, right?
And just helping people in my business. I can't imagine doing anything else. Someone told me yesterday that she's retired and asked me when I'm retiring, and I'm like, I don't think I ever will. I love what I do.
Awesome. And how do people find you?
You can find me at superbrandpublishing.com or authortrafficschool.com or over on LinkedIn. And I think I saw it running across the bottom here. So LinkedIn, or you know what? If your clients want more tips and tricks, Iris is actually going to be in our magazine next month. We have Breakthrough Author Magazine, and you can go get your free subscription at breakthroughauthormagazine.com.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to write my first article. That was like crazy. It was so cool. Awesome. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'll be right back. So everybody out there, thank you so much. Every week, I know I say this, I appreciate you all so much. We've hit over 2,000 downloads, but we don't have a lot of subscribers, which makes no sense to me. So go like, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, you get a notification of a new episode. If you've gleaned any nuggets from this episode, share it. I love all my guests. I get nuggets from everybody that's been on here. So, and I really hope that you've, been enjoying the people, the variety, all of it. And I also want to thank our sponsor, InnoviaBH.com, Innovia Better Health. They've been amazing, so I really want to thank them. So again, go out, have an amazing week, and find what lights your fire. See you next time. Bye.